good evening. Take this off. Nice to have you all here today. My name is Reverend Michael McMorrow. I'm with the Center for Spiritual Living here in Granada Hills, California, where we welcome all who practice their beliefs in faith and love. And I didn't finish buttoning my shirt. And I need to deal with this. Okay. All right. So, welcome. This is our healing meditation. As I said, my name is Michael McMorrow. I've got Mike Carlin joining me on the tech department, and we're coming to you from the sanctuary, from the empty sanctuary at our Center for Spiritual Living here in Granada Hills, California. So we're going to do a little meditation tonight, a healing meditation. We're going to, if you have not meditated before, I'll take you into it, and then we'll go into the silence for a while and do a little healing prayer at the end. So, but for now, we're going to start our evening the way we start everything here at our center, by just taking a deep conscious breath and release. And in that release, we're just releasing the cares and concerns of the day. And let's take another deep breath. And release. And let your shoulders drop. And just allow yourself to really melt into this moment. Let's take one more deep breath. And release. As we come together for this call to service, which we call Lighting the Flames of Faith. And we perform their ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call Spirit. That fundamental to this truth is a unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this evening. So behind me, you'll see the candles. The first candle we light for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the third candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. The fifth candle we light for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. The sixth candle we light for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. The eighth candle we light for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. The ninth candle we light for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And the 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives, and for the space that we hold for them here at our center, within this online community, and within our own hearts. And as we remember anyone that may need healing of any kind, particularly those suffering from the effects of this pandemic, or suffering of any kind, please say their names out loud now, if you'd like to. And we place their names now into the light, into the healing candle. The names of anyone you wish to have experience the healing flame of God's eternal love. And so let's just know together that as we've come together in this peaceful space, that there is only one thing going on here, God and nothing else. And so as each within our own way touches base with what that means, we recognize in some fashion that we are connecting with an aspect of the divine as we know it to be. That we are allowing it this sense of connection and stillness to be our reality in this moment. And from this place then of connection with the one, I know for each one of us that we are open and receptive to whatever experience transpires here this evening, that we release any attachment as to how this meditation is supposed to look, any attachment to results, and instead surrender to what is. And so we release any attachment as to how that is to be. So we take a deep breath and release. And in gratitude and in confidence, we can know this is so by saying, and so it is. Amen. So, we're still continuing to work with this book. Start where you are. Pema Chodron is the writer. Excuse me. And of course, I have a tickle in my nostril as we start. Isn't that the way it is? I'm going to meditate. Oh, I have an itch. I'm going to meditate. Oh, I forgot to get the laundry. Right? There's, isn't it interesting, all the things that can get in the way when we decide that we want to make the time and set aside time to just be still, to contemplate, to make space, to quiet the mind, and to see what reveals itself. So we look out into the outer world today. So we're out here in California, and of course, where the governor's just announced that cutting back some of the privileges, I suppose, that we had. We can still actually move around pretty easily. We just have to remember to wear a mask and practice social distancing, which is, according to the Washington Post, will cut down 85% of the infection rate. So it's pretty simple stuff, right? And yet, we can fight it, right? So I think if you're like me, when Memorial Day hit and it started to get warm and we were feeling good and a little frisky and itching to get out there, and I continued to wear my mask and socially distance, of course, but it has been good to get out to and hike again. But we have to really be mindful that we're not this is not the time to pretend like this thing is over. And as people who are interested in meditation, we are naturally drawn to looking at thought and how we think and what we think about. And if we're really interested in making change in our life, we can use all of these little places of resistance to observe thought, what we're thinking about, and how we're showing up in the world. So one of the things that came out of the news conference today, which was interesting, was that, I don't know who it was, it might have been someone from the county, was saying, every day each one of us are making 18 to 25 different decisions that have risk associated with it as far as being infected or passing infection. So that's a handful of thoughts when you consider that physiologists tell us that most humans think between 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day. And most of them are the same thoughts. So, and yet we have this handful, minuscule amount of those thoughts where we can decide to wear a mask or not, where we can move into someone's 6-foot space or not, where we can choose to be kind or not. Right? We can choose to hustle and bustle around, going through the motions of daily living and getting ourselves all wound up, or we can practice peace and serenity. These are one of the benefits of meditation, of course, is that we learn to become the observer, right? So we're creating space and we're observing what's going on in our mental atmosphere. And if we're having a nice session, we might even observe a few discordant thoughts coming up. Oh, isn't that interesting? And then to practice not attaching to it and releasing. So when we can do that habitually, then we're learning to respond rather than to react. And when we respond to rather than react, we can practice what Pema speaks to, which is compassionate action. And so in this chapter, she's telling the story of a friend who had written her a letter and really let her have it over something. And so Pema's kind of telling on herself and saying, I was going to write her this dharmic letter, and I was going to put in all of these dharma lessons within it, because knowing that would intimidate my friend, and basically just call her out in that loving, spiritual way, knowing all the while that it's anything but that. And I love Pema because she's willing to tell on herself and to show her humanity in this way. And so she wrote this after telling this story on herself. Sometimes when you're feeling miserable, you challenge people to see if they will still like you when you show them how ugly you can be. Because of how I myself was feeling, I knew what my friend needed was not for somebody to dump back on her. So I wrote a very different letter from the one that I had planned. Right? So she acted differently. An extremely honest one that said, you can dump on me all you like and put all your stuff out there, but I'm not going to give up on you. You can dump on me all you like and put all your stuff out there, but I'm not going to give up on you. It wasn't a wishy-washy letter that avoided the issue that there had been a confrontation and that I had been hurt by it. On the other hand, it wasn't a letter in which I went to the other extreme and lashed out. For the first time, I felt I had experienced what it meant to exchange oneself for the other. When you've been there, you know what it feels like, and therefore you can give something you know will open the space and cause things to keep flowing. You can give something that will help someone else connect with their own insight and courage and gentleness rather than further polarize the situation. So perhaps you can hear something in this reading that you could use right now with what is going on in the outer world. When you've been there, you know what it feels like, and you can give something that you know will open the space and cause things to keep flowing. You can give something that will help someone else connect with their own insight and courage and gentleness rather than further polarize the situation. Drive all blames into one is a pivotal slogan because usually driving blames into other comes from the fact that we've been hurt and therefore want to hurt back. So consider how this may be true in your own life, even if your own life is responding to social stuff you see on social media. Drive all blames into one is a pivotal slogan because usually driving blames into other comes from the fact that we've been hurt and therefore want to hurt back. It's that kind of logic. Therefore, the exchange, putting ourselves in someone else's shoes, doesn't come from theory in which you try to imagine what someone else is feeling. It comes from being so familiar and so open-hearted and so honest about who you are, who we are, and what you do that you begin to understand humanness altogether, and you can speak appropriately to the situation. So think about the stuff that is going on out there. There's just so much stuff swirling around right now that this COVID pandemic has really created space. So whether it's Black Lives Matter or refunding and reformatting the police force or wearing masks or not wearing masks or moving into public spaces with masks or without masks or moving in family circles, considering the safety of others or not. This is an opportunity for us to practice compassionate action, which comes from becoming so familiar and so open-hearted and so honest about who you are and what you do that we begin to understand humanness altogether and can speak appropriately to the situation. The basic ground of compassionate action is the importance of working with rather than struggling against. And what I mean by that is working with your own, my own unwanted, unacceptable stuff. So when the unacceptable and unwanted appears out there, We relate to it based on having worked with loving kindness for ourselves first. So you see where this is getting at. One more time, right? We got to work on our own stuff. So when we're getting triggered by what's going on out there, it's a call for healing for ourselves, to pay attention. To pay attention and to apply loving kindness to ourselves and with our own unwanted, unacceptable stuff. Or sometimes it's even things we're afraid. We're afraid we might be that. Right? So as a white male, an older white male, and the conversations about race and racism and white supremacy and, all those things that are triggered. What do you mean? Me, a racist? Oh, I'm not a racist. But yet when you start getting under the surface stuff and thinking about bias and remembering times when we were in a situation where this made itself clear and we chose to ignore it. So those are kind of heavy ones, but there are all kinds of things that we can work on. And there is no condescension. This non-dualistic approach is true to the heart because it's based on our kinship with one another. We know what to say because we have experienced closing down, shutting off, being angry, hurt, rebellious, and so forth, and have made a relationship with those things within ourselves. So it's not about problem resolution, Pema says. This is a much more open-ended and courageous approach. It has to do with not knowing what will happen. And isn't meditation great for that? It has nothing to do with wanting to get ground under our feet. It's about keeping our heart and our mind open to whatever arises without hope of fruition. Problem solving is based first on thinking there is a problem, and second on thinking there is a solution, that the concepts of problem and solution keep us stuck in thinking that there's an enemy or a saint, or a right way and a wrong way. And the approach that she's suggesting here is more groundless than that. So think on what she's saying there. When we find ourselves locked mentally, or even in conversation, in this or that thinking, then we are no longer practicing oneness, which is one of the key principles that we strive to realize in what we do here at our center. Right? How to find that oneness, how to create oneness with people we appear to be in discord with, is to heal first that within ourselves which we find unacceptable, bringing loving kindness to that, and then in having a sense of healing around that, then we identify with the other from a place of oneness, of our shared experience. Right? And really in knowing that the only thing that really heals discord is loving kindness. Loving kindness means deep listening, right? Deep listening, allowing that hurt to just wash through or pass through us. And at the end of the day, finding that wellspring of loving kindness within us that is overflowing to such an extent that we easily, with practice, that we can share it with others. And we can share it with others even when it's not so easy. So the master teacher Jesus, when asked how many times do you have to forgive somebody, he answered what? 70 times 7. So it's spiritual practice, man. It's not magic, right? But the effect is magical when we engage in spiritual practice and we heal the stuff within, and then we really do not only have the potential to be peacemakers, but we are that. And you'll see. Maybe you're witnessing this already, that you have friends. Now you're going to come out of this thing and your friends are going to be wondering, why are you so serene? See it, boy? You feel like you're pretty chill. What have you been up to? We've just been doing our work. So, enough chit-chat. So let's just check our seat. We're just breathing easily and naturally. I'm going to roll my shoulders around a little bit because I've been doing a little bit of work and a little stiff. All right, so we're going to take few deep breaths here to start. I'm just going to allow my arms to dangle, and I've got my seat nice and square, and I'm jiggling around, and we're just setting that triangle, that solid base for which to move into our meditation. So we start by taking a deep breath, as deep as you can take it, and then release. And now we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to use the Johanna technique. And on the exhale, pay attention to the out breath. Okay. Ready? Breathe in. Exhale. So a little bit different, huh? One more deep breath. Hold it at the top. Observe the out breath. So now we begin checking our posture. Breathing easily, naturally through the nose. We're going to pay attention to the movement of the breath in the nostril. So that, of course, has an in-breath and an out-breath. So you can see the mind begins to still by focusing on the breath. And so we bring our attention to the bottom of our feet. So we do a quick body scan, the top of our feet. If you're wearing socks or shoes, bring your awareness to being aware of the covering. Following the breath. up the legs. Sometimes we can torque the knees a little bit, so just check that. Top of the thigh. Into the hamstring and gluteal. Checking our sit bones. The spine is balanced above the sit bones. The head is balanced on the spine. If you feel any tension in your lower back, if you tuck your tailbone in a little bit, you can loosen that. And the belly is just rising and falling easily. Into the chest and the shoulders. Into the face. Again, following that breath on the in-breath and the out-breath. And on the next out-breath, see if you can release your face and your eyelids. Now you may notice, in following the breath, some tingling above the eyebrows, the third eye. You may notice some tingling on the crown of your head. It's perfectly normal. Now, should you find yourself either physically tensed or a thought has snagged you, then you can just take a deep breath and exhale and just reset it. Just acknowledge it as thinking, then return to in-breath, the out-breath, the inhale, the exhale. As we bring our attention gently back into the room, staying with the breath. The inhale and the exhale. So in any awareness of anything that came up, within this meditation now, we're breathing in the light of the divine and fanning that flame of divinity that's within the heart center of all beings. And with each in-breath, that flame grows in brilliance and brightens. Each breath expanding this ball of light now into our very heart center. So with each in-breath, this ball of light at our heart center expands just a wee bit more. That's it. Staying with the breath. So now this ball of light is the size of a small globe. Extends beyond the body, torso, side to side, front to back, top to bottom. Staying with the breath, expanding this light. We're now sitting in this globe of light. You may even feel a sensation of crinkling on the skin. Staying with the breath, so that this light now fills the very room we occupy. So this field of light is loving kindness. So we allow ourselves to step into that, just allowing ourselves to be bathed, to dissolve into this light of loving kindness that we feel. Love itself restoring those places within us, seeking to a sense of wholeness, a sense of oneness. So now we extend this field even further now to include those with whom we love, whom we're close to. Both our intimate relationships and our business relationships, that it's all one thing, that we are breathing in loving kindness around all of it. Just feeling the connection and that sense again of restoration and wholeness, of oneness, of connectedness. Breathing in light, exhaling love. Breathing in light, exhaling love. So for those whom we up until now have seen ourselves in conflict with, we now bring them into this field of light, this field of loving kindness. And we breathe here for a moment, breathing in light, exhaling love. Breathing in light, exhaling love. And anyone whom we may be feeling discord in any way, we breathe in light, exhale love, breathe in light, exhale love. That we're now inviting all those in service to us, that we might stay safe at home, from the delivery man to law enforcement, breathing in light, exhaling love, that we are knowing the highest and best for them, for we see our oneness with them, that we can put ourselves in the shoes of the other, that we are now looking out to the horizon, shoulder to shoulder together, that we feel our oneness with each other. And in this way, we feel our oneness with the divine. So we recognize and know that there is only one thing, one power, one presence, one source, one life of the divine expressing in, through, and as this manifest life, that we step fully and completely in it right now, that we understand and know that our consciousness has been shifted and lifted into higher realms of thought that allow us to experience, to not only experience loving kindness at the depth of our being, but also to share a field of loving kindness with all from whom we know, both in this in real time and within the metaphysical community of oneness. For all of our leaders, locally, statewide, nationally, worldwide, that we are just knowing a sense of oneness around all of it. That in this oneness, and we know the body temple is fortified, that it is resilient, that it is connecting with the pattern of perfection already within it. That with each breath we are fortifying, breathing in the breath of the divine, even as it is breathing us, that we are experiencing radiant good health in all of its forms. That every molecule, every muscle, every sinew, every organ now is activated by this pattern of perfection, so that we are emanating and radiating radiant good health, that our mind is open and receptive to new and dynamic ideas that have within them the solution to any challenge that may have presented itself to us this day, or even through this meditation. However it has presented itself, that we know that it is now dissolved, that we are now stepping into a field of substance that is calling forth our deepest desires for this expression of radiant good health, of loving kindness in all of its realms, of a world experience of the world that is peaceful, harmonious, that has serenity in it, that our creativity is activated, that we feel our oneness with life, that we feel our oneness with the divine. So we take a deep breath, and just releasing this word and the cares and concerns held within the hearts of anyone listening or watching, that we are releasing all of it with a confidence and in gratitude to that aspect of the mind of the divine itself that knows only to say yes, my beloved, yes. And so we take another deep breath. And as we know, we hit the pillow tonight, we drift off to sleep easily and without effort, that we sleep deeply, restfully, dreaming sweet dreams, that we awaken feeling refreshed and revitalized, full of vim and vigor and an excitement for the day. So we just release all of it now to that which doeth the work, the infinite power and presence of the divine. We release it, let it go, let it be so. And together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. Amen. So this concludes our healing meditation. Thank you for joining me. You can, I'm doing a little thing on Facebook. You can find me at Michael McMorrow around noonish, depending on my Wi-Fi connection. And it's just a midday reset. Just a quick prayer. It takes maybe 3 minutes, sometimes 5 if I'm a little chatty. Of course, you can join us here on this YouTube stage channel at 10:30 on Sunday morning, where we have a full music program and a message of unchained spirituality is our theme for July. And of course, it is Independence Day weekend, so I'm sure I'll be working those themes in there as well. So until then, stay strong, stay safe, stay masked, stay loving, know that you're loved, and I will see you soon. Peace and blessings. Bye now.